Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Tackle Shop Live. Galen Heathcote, how you doing, buddy? Scott Luckoff, man, how you doing, pal? Thanks for checking in. David Schottlemeyer, what's up, brother? Matthew Weimer, what's up, Matthew? St. Cress is in the house. How you doing, pal? Mike Hayer, Kevin Carpenter, Andy Garrett. What's up, man? Appreciate everybody stopping in. Man, we have a really good one for you tonight. We do. Yeah. Kevin Carpenter, how you doing? Tammy Geeman, how you doing, Tammy? Steve Klauser, what's up? Mike, wait, did I get that right? Mike Heyer. And he tell me his name was Heyer.
Well, I mean, you know.
I think I got it right.
You're going to get it right.
Jimmy Arnold, what do you say, Jimmy? Oliver Gayer, how you doing? Geyer, I guess. Man.
My point exactly.
What's up, everybody?
You know just what I feel. Please tell me.
We got a great show for you tonight. Special guest is in the house. We got him all queued up. Michael Neal is with us tonight.
The real deal.
The real deal. So we're going to be talking with him here in just a second. Sean Neifert, how you doing? Tommy, what's going on? Tommy, Jack Hinkle, Andre, what do you say, Andre? Ed Radnowski, Frank Garvey, what's up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in tonight to another great edition of Tackle Shop Live. My name is Mike Acord. This is George Acord. Behind the camera is cameraman Nick, as always.
How's it going, everybody?
Appreciate you, Nick, for being here tonight. I know you're a busy guy.
Behind the scenes, man. You can't do the program without him.
No, you can't.
Got to keep it going.
You got to keep it going. Yep. So George and I finally got out and terrorized the smallmouth over the weekend on Sunday. So we were out, had a great day on the water, caught a bunch of smallies. So I'm feeling really good about that.
Oh,
I
that was
don't know about you,
fantastic.
other than dodging some major storms and stuff coming through. We got soaking wet. The boat ran.
Yeah.
Let's see. It ran out we sat there and watched it for 3 beers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been fishing everywhere but our beloved river. So it was nice to get the jet boat back out again and
catch some big smallies.
Yeah, we got we had a great day on the river. We got cut a little short with some pretty violent thunderstorms. I mean,
it was ugly.
I'm talking lightning cracking down all around us. It was time to take it to the house.
Yeah. It was good to get out there. We caught a bunch of fish. John Wernick, how you doing, man? We saw him out there on the water also. Mark, how you doing? Robert Standford.
Yeah, I think you got that one right.
I did. I'm getting better at names. Okay, like I said, tonight we have a special guest brought to you by Big Bite Baits. And this guy is smoking hot. Michael Neal is with us. I'm going to bring him on right now. Let's see if I can find him here. Here we go.
Michael Neal
there he is.
House.
Michael Neal is in the house. What do you say, Michael? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, doing all right. Enjoying this kind of break in the weather. I know it's not so great in other parts of the country, especially down in Florida, but kind of enjoying it up here for now.
Yeah, you're in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, Dayton, Tennessee, just a little bit north of Chattanooga and south of Knoxville.
Yeah, and you're kind of real close to Chickamauga.
Yeah, just right out the road here, just a couple of minutes. I can be at the boat ramp. It's a great fishery, but kind of like the rest of them in the country, the last few years they've gotten a little bit smarter. They get a little bit more pressure, but they're still out there.
That's what happens when you put all these big tournaments on there, and you guys are whacking giants on the lake, and you all of a sudden there's a bunch of people saying, I know where I'm vacationing.
yeah, it's part of it, but I mean. You can still catch a bunch of fish, and the sizes here, and especially at nighttime, they really come out to play, but they're just smarter.
Yeah.
How's your fall bite on your? I know you have Chickamauga gets all the press, but you got a couple other really hot lakes in your region. How's your fall bite down there? Pretty stout.
At times it can be. I can be at Gunnersville in an hour and 15 minutes from the house. You could be at Watts Bar is just 15 minutes up the road. You got Fort Loudon, Norris, Douglas, Cherokee, Parksville, Spotted Bass Lake. I mean, all those you can be around here, and we're just now getting to that time of year where the water's starting to cool off. Finally, getting a little bit of a break, so it'll start picking up here soon.
Yeah, that's nice being located where you're at there. You can striking distance for a lot of different water to fish.
Oh, we've been down. Mike and I have been known to frequent a few waters down there. We're Tellico, Fort Loudon, Douglas guys from way back.
Yeah, way back.
Yeah, it's not but about an hour and a half.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for you guys that don't know, Michael Neal, super hot, the hottest guy out there right now. Back-to-back Angler of the Year titles with the Major League Fishing Pro Tour. I think they're calling it the Invitationals now. Is that correct, Mike?
Yeah, it was the Pro Circuit, and this year it's going to be the Invitationals.
Yeah, this year it's going to be changing to the Invitationals. Man, what an accomplishment! 2-time back-to-back Angler of the Year titles. Man, how do you feel about that? I had to be like a pretty good exclamation point for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started my career fishing the FLW Tour in 2012 and fished it through 2018 until the Bass Pro Tour started. Went to that for 19, 20, and then 21, getting a chance to go back to where I started and win what I would really call my first career win, even though it wasn't just a tournament. I valued that as much or more than actually winning a tournament. So to go back to my roots and, just get that done, that was really super special. And then a few weeks later, like 3 weeks later, I won a tournament on the Bass Pro Tour at St. Clair. So last year was really good. I wasn't sure how this year was going to stack up, but, it turned out okay. Started out the year with a win in the Pro Circuit. So the last event last year I fished, the first one this year, I won both of them, and it just set the ball rolling in the right direction again.
That was fun to watch, man. Well, we all are, and many of our listeners are online streaming live tournaments every second, and it was really exciting to watch. What's interesting to me is you do a lot of damage up north. I mean, you're like a up north smallmouth shredder, and we're, our customer base locally here, it's not but a hop, skip, and a jump up the road, 4 or 5 hours, and we're in all those prime northern waters. So we're, you get a little more interested in something that you do a lot of, and watching your forward facing sonar prowess and your drop shot abilities and catching those big smallies, and not just in the New York waters we fish, but I mean you're Detroit, you're Michigan, you're all the ways out to what your last tournament was.
Mille Lacs.
Yeah.
Way out there.
Yeah. It's just, it took me a while early in my career. I would say I really struggled with smallmouth. I mean, I grew up down here on Chickamauga, and 10-pound test on a cranking rod, that was super light. I didn't even really know what a spinning rod was when I first started fishing. Fished a lot of tournaments with my uncle, and that was how I got my offshore game started. He was one of the first ones here that really started diving into all that. And then when I got out on the road, I had to start picking up a little bit more of those finesse techniques. I figured out real quick, you had to weigh 5 every day. You go out to a beaver lake or something like we frequented in that clear water that I wasn't used to. I had to do some adjustments, and the smallmouth was no different. I kept trying to make smallmouth act like largemouth, and that's the absolute worst thing you can do. Largemouth, they want to hang around. They want to live at something. They want to live beside this rock. They want to live in this brush pile underneath this dock. And a smallmouth just don't do that. And you can try and make them do that. Yeah, there's some exceptions in current and things like that where they have to sit still. But, as a whole, they're just bait chasers that just roam around in no man's land. And that's the fish you got to find, and they're really unpressured. And anytime you can find something unpressured, you got it to yourself for a little while till everybody else catches on. But, who knows how much longer that'll be, but it's been fun the last couple of years chasing them.
That's one thing we notice when we go up there. You see a fish and you drop down on them and they bite it. I mean, they eat it. It's amazing how When you do find them, they're pretty simple to catch. But the trick is finding them, and that's a difficult part, I think, and staying with them. But as you mentioned, I mean, you're you got you're, like I said, you're a 2-time Angler of the Year. You got 3 wins to your name. You got 37 top 10s. You got 41 top 20s. Man, you're always right there in the money. You qualify for 3 Red Crest appearances, which is awesome. And you amassed over $1.5 million. So, I mean, you're no joke. You're the real freaking deal. And George and I have been following your career here for the last couple of years when you really came on the scene, but really even before that. You're really coming into your own right now. Do you feel like you're you're in a position now where well, you don't want to say it, but that you're more comfortable fishing these events and going around the country fishing these tournaments?
Yeah, and that's something that last year, everybody asked me what changed. What do you think allowed you to win Angler of the Year? And it was just that I would go pick out a body of water and figure out how to fish my strength that I could make work in that. When you're doing this, if you just got one strength that you feel very comfortable doing, yeah, you can do really good in some tournaments and get by in others, but to really excel, you've got to have 3 or 4 different things that you feel comfortable at the drop of a hat you can go do and be confident in it. And to me, when I fish shallow, it's either throwing a swim jig or a vibrating jig. If I can go find that, I'm comfortable. If I can go find an offshore ledge bite, I'm comfortable. If I can find a forward-facing sonar bite, I'm comfortable with that too. So that was the thing last year, is every tournament every tournament all year in the pro circuit, especially, I fished how I wanted to go approach that lake. Even if it wasn't what you're supposed to go do necessarily, it was what I went and did. And a perfect example, Rayburn, you've always heard about the Rayburn Red and lipless baits and throwing them in the grass and all that. And there was very limited sections of the lake that had grass, but even though that's what you were supposed to do, that's where all the boats were going. And everybody else was going and trying to make that work. And I just scrapped all that and just tried to fish out a little bit deeper where I was more comfortable and made it work.
Yeah, when I heard you reference that shallow water swim jig / bladed jig bite, and I just recently read a piece where you were talking about, and I don't recall where it was. It was just in the last couple of days, where you were talking about your use of a bladed jig in the fall. And we do a lot of talking on bladed jigs, a lot of fishing on bladed jigs. We've had whole entire shows devoted to them. And we've always felt really strong about the trailer. Could you possibly, I don't want to get your total trade secrets here, but could you possibly
Yeah, we do.
Throw us a little bit of let's just say like a fall, bait fish oriented shallow water bite, maybe how you would just go about your business on a bladed jig, from trailer to weight and color and that kind of thing. Just kind of break it. We're kind of nutsy boltsy guys, man, and our listeners love this stuff. What can you give us on that?
Typically in the fall, they're going to be turned back to shad. Sometimes your fish will get more on bluegill and things like that, but in the fall, they're going to be more focused on that. So I like a white if the water's dirty. If it's super dirty, a chartreuse and white. And if you've got some somewhat clear water, I like something that's pretty transparent. I don't want them to get a super good look at it. You're trying to mimic small bait in the fall. So that's another reason for that more transparent, translucent skirt, something like a spot remover or a clear water shad or something like that. And the trailer size, you've got to match up. And with that, I really do 2 different things. If I'm fishing really shallow, I'll throw something like a 3.5-inch big bite cane thumper. That's a bait that I throw on a swim jig or a bladed jig, either one. And that's when I want, it's a swim bait, so it's got a paddle tail. And if I want my bait to ride high, if I'm fishing super shallow, or if I need to slow my presentation down, that's when I go with the swim bait style trailer. And if I'm not, then I'm throwing the new, or I say new, it just came out about a year ago now, the smaller 3.5, 3 3/4-inch kamikaze swim on. And that's, a traditional broken style, but that one's going to allow the bait to get a little bit deeper than that paddle tail. So that's when 3/8 is typically what I start with in the fall because you're going to be going down the bank. You're going to be skipping it under whatever you go by, skipping under docks, keeping it above grass, whatever it may be. Yeah, that right there is a kamikaze swim on. That's a great all around chatterbait trailer, vibrating jig trailer for, the whole season, but especially in the fall, that smaller size to mimic that smaller bait. 3/8, again, like I said, if you need to go a little bit deeper or you need to speed it up, you think for more of a reaction bite, you can go to that half, but that's pretty much the basics in and out right there.
Are you so fall for you? When's fall for you really start? I mean, what's your what would you say the fall would be for you?
For where I live in the Southeast right now, the middle of into September through probably the first half of November, something like that. After that first half of November, water temperatures start trying to dip in the low 50s or even lower. And that's when those fish are going to start getting out off the bank a little bit. But from the water temperature, in that 55 to 65 range is when that bait's really going to shine.
Okay.
Especially if you've got a situation where you can just go down the bank. You can't cover water with anything else besides a spinner bait. As effectively as that, I feel like.
Yeah.
What an awesome bait, man. I mean, this bladed jig has morphed into a virtually, except for the dead of winter, a year-round bait. And I mean, just making those trailer adjustments, going from that boot foot to that swim style. I like to call them the fish style, like that swim on. Just making those kind of adjustments. It's all the difference in the world. I mean, the trailer is the deal on the bladed jig, and I mean that's some good juice right there, and we do appreciate that breakdown. What kind of line weight and rod power and all that good stuff do you like on that?
I throw it on 16 or 20-pound Sunline Sniper. 20 if I'm going down the bank. If I'm casting out in grass or fishing it on bars or something like that, I'll go down to 16 just to get it down a little bit more. But 20 for me, Sunline's always got a super small diameter, and that's something that you can kind of go up in your size a little bit and not counteract the action of the bait. And a rod, I throw it on 2, and it's the same 2 all year long. If I'm going down the bank, it's a Denali 7'2" medium heavy covert. I feel like it's got to have enough backbone to where you can get those fish out of some heavier cover, but you got to have that tip to allow them to eat the bait. A lot of people want to throw too stiff of a rod to do that, and you're going to miss or lose a ton of fish doing that. But I don't like anything longer than that because I'm not what I would call a super accurate great caster. And if I go any longer than that, I'm going to lose a lot of that castability. So that's the reason for the length. And offshore, it's labeled as a heavy, but it's a 7.4 heavy multi-purpose, but it's really maybe a cranking heavy or something like that. It's in the Attack series. It's a lot lazier blank overall, but I like that 7.4 because you can make a lot longer cast. You're not trying to be accurate, but it's got just the right amount of tip and backbone where you still get a good hook driven in them on a long cast.
Yeah, that's one of the things we talk about in here a lot is, there's such that trend that started several years ago with going with the glass rods on the bladed jigs, and we've gone back and forth fishing, on the water, both glass and the graphite. And it's interesting because most of us tend to gravitate towards a very similar rod, like a 7.2 medium heavy, but with that little bit of more of a traditional fast taper where you get that bend back in a little farther, but not that totally folding up glass type bend.
Right.
So,
and, I think a lot of it has to do with how guys set the hook. And to me, it's just a rod that fits the way I do it. My first experience with a vibrating jig was with Brett Height at Lake Toho. I fished as a co-angler in 2008 and 2009 on the FLW Tour. And that was when he went on that hot streak. He won that tournament. He went to the Delta and won one. I'm thinking he won 3 in a row. It might have been something else too. But that was my first experience with that. And he was using a glass rod. But I grew up in the era where there wasn't a whole lot of glass rods. That was kind of a more old school thing. And I just never really got comfortable using them even for a crankbait. But if you're the guy that likes them and has success with them, by all means give it a go. But to me, like you said, that graphite action's better.
So did you say did you get a chance to fish with Brett in the boat?
I did. Yeah.
Oh,
The
did you?
first day at Toho, it was, I think that was actually the first one I fished as a co-angler, the first year of 2008.
Oh, sweet.
We took off and locked through to Kissimmee, and he actually left his net in the truck. He
Oh.
discovered that about halfway to the lock, I think, and he caught a big bag that day, and I lipped 8-pounder for him.
Oh.
So that was a great experience. I'm pretty sure I zeroed that day, but I definitely learned a whole lot.
Pressure was on there. I mean, if
Yeah.
you I'm sure. I mean, if you would have dropped that thing, I mean,
yeah,
wow.
I was 16 years old and knew
Yeah.
what was on the line for him, and he boat flipped the rest of them, but that one was a little big to try and flip in.
Oh
So,
man, that's
he
crazy
got it. And he got
pressure.
to weigh it in. That's what mattered.
That's good stuff.
You know what I'd have said? I'd have said, hell no, I ain't touching that one. Get your own deal, buddy.
Yeah, I did. I
don't
did
want to
grab the line, which I know now was a no-no, and he was yelling, "No, don't grab the line!" But at the time, I didn't know any other way to do it, so I was just hoping that all corners didn't break loose. And
Yeah, that
go
was
to
a
the
process there.
Yeah,
I mean, you could have went with the full tackle or whatever, but at
Yeah.
least he got it in the boat and he got to weigh it in.
That's funny you say that. We took one of our employees out fishing on Sunday, and new to fishing off of boats, and he's a hell of a jig fisherman off the shore, but we took him out and we were fishing, and we finally started catching some fish, and I set the hook on this great big old smallmouth, and it's coming in, and George is scrambling for the net. It's all tangled up in all the rods from running up through there.
It was a mess.
And he's like, it's freaking net, I can't get it, and the guy says, I'll get the fish for you, and he reaches down and grabs a line, man, and I'm like, well, I don't know about that pink, and the line breaks off a big old 4-pounder. I thought he was going to start crying right on the spot.
Yeah, it's you don't think there's any other way to do it, but
I know. I said, well, there's no, you don't want to grab that line. That's not a good thing to do, especially short line. Like, that was funny.
Yeah, that's never good. Never good.
So if you had to pick largemouth or smallmouth, what's your love? Smallie fishing or largemouth fishing?
Largemouth for sure. I mean,
sure?
they still they make so much more sense. You can rely on them day to day. Typically, now sometimes they'll pull a smallmouth act, but I've always just called smallmouth nomads or gypsies my whole career. That's just how I relate to them. I felt like I was going to win a couple tournaments and go back and do good to even get a bite. So
Right. Yeah.
I like catching them. Not so much in a tournament because you're using that light line 7-8 pound test and a lot of nerves, but largemouth day in day out. It's what I cut my teeth on, and still would pick them.
And when you're fishing, what everybody wants to know about setups. I looked at your boat, and I don't know if you can get a 6 unit anywhere on your boat. But would you run a 6 unit if you could fit it on there? I mean, you got 5 units on that thing, and they're stacked. They're all giant units. What are you running? What are you running?
I've got Lowrance and Humminbird both. Active target for the forward facing, Humminbird for the 360 and the mapping. Lowrance has come a long way with the C map. Also, they complement each other very well. Where one lacks a little bit, the other one takes up the slack. And I had Garmin before. Garmin's great also. But to me, I was just more comfortable with the Lowrance and the Humminbird combination. I actually ran that back in like 2014. I had 4 units, 2 were Humminbird, 2 Lowrance, and I really missed that combination. So this year, I just went back to all that. And I don't know that we're in a position where the number of graphs might even slow up yet. I think you might see some guys trying to figure out some more stuff where you might need another one on the back. I don't know why you necessarily need another one on the front yet, but who knows? Some guys may have 6 next year.
That was awesome. I was like looking at this boat, and I'm like, what the heck, man? And, this guy's got everything up there.
Well, I noticed go ahead there, Michael.
The trolling motor gets a little heavy when you start putting all that stuff on it, but it's there's no limitations yet.
You got to be careful you don't pull a Glusick on that one, man. I mean, you're putting a lot of strain on that rope. I noticed with some of these young guys, these college guys, we've been getting to know a few of these college anglers, and we've had a few of them on the program. We've had a few of them in the shop as guests, and we're following them closely. And they're, as you would expect, these guys are absolutely dialed in to every aspect of their game, but they are hyper focused on electronics. And several of these up and coming college guys that are trying to make the tour are running 6 graphs. And I can only imagine on that console, with that layout, that one of them has to be devoted to strictly to like a secondary map, like a Google map or like a zoom out when you get that kind of aerial view, because I can't imagine why you would need 3 console units. I mean, if you got side imaging on and mapping, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah,
you got
I've got another RAM mount to the side where I took my iPad. In places like Okeechobee or in Florida where you can see those ponds to get back in and things like that, or even a marshy lake like a Santee Cooper, or some of the stuff down in Louisiana and that part of the country, just to be able to see those paths to run with that aerial imaging. And I mean, some of the graphs have that on there, but you can go through it, rotate through a couple different ones, whether it's Apple Maps or Google Maps or Google Earth or whatever, while you're out there on the water, and not have to use your phone. You can get that iPad up there, bigger screen, keep it stationary, and utilize it that way.
That's cool.
Yeah, we've done that already. We had a couple years ago, we had a super wet summer, and we had a tremendous high water incident for months, and our fish were back. I mean, they couldn't be on the river. They were back up in these really remote creeks and drains, which it was high for so long. They kept pushing back in there. And a lot of them really aren't identified by a name. It just, you just kind of run and you kind of look at Google Earth, or you zoom out to your overview page and you just look for like a little creek coming down off the mountain, and you just kind of find out where it is.
Yeah.
So that stuff really comes in handy for that kind of a situation. Not a everyday type of thing, but a situational thing. And it helped us access some real remote, hard to get into waters that these fish, were forced into over time, and made for some great fishing. So
yeah, I think the weather patterns kind of follow the Pro Tours. It seems like we always have some sort of adverse conditions to deal with. So you never know what you're going to encounter, to say the least.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Michael, I got a question for you here. In the beginning of the show, you kind of hinted that fish are getting smarter, or they're getting harder to catch, but you're obviously doing something right as this is happening. What's been your biggest adjustment, or what's put it in your favor a little bit as things get harder all around the country?
I would just have to say it's going back to things that, doing things that aren't supposed to be by the book that would work. I mean, I've done some things and just look back and said, why did I even go try and do that? But, they work out, or just trying to adjust throughout the day. And I think that's a lot of it, is being able to just go practice during the tournament. I would never do that. I would never pull the plug and scrap an area, no matter how many other boats were in there with me or how few bites I'd gotten. I would live or die in that one spot that I found. And now I just feel like I'm confident enough to where I can go run a pattern, or just go to a totally different section of the lake and try and duplicate it where I've never even been in practice. Or like at Lake Murray last year in the pro circuit, I had, I think, 13 pounds the first day, and I thought I was going to be in good shape. The lake fished way better than I thought it was going to. And I think I was in like 50th or 60th place with that. And day 2, I went back out, did the same thing. I was skipping docks with a wacky worm, which not my strength by any means. And I caught another 12 or 13 pounds and thought, well, I've done about all I could do. And I just turned and went as far up the river as I could go, put a bladed jig in my hand, and just went. I didn't have a pattern. I didn't try and run points. I just put the trolling motor down just like I would have in practice, and until I figured out how to get some bites. And that was when it really clicked, that just stay with your strengths and figure out where you can go do those things in any given body of water.
cover a lot of water and burn a lot of battery, huh?
So
Yeah, that's it. And I think a lot of times people try to do too many things in practice or try to cover too much of a lake. And the more that you can keep your trolling motor down, the longer you can do that in any straight amount of time, the more you're going to figure out. If you just start noticing, hey, I got a bite off of this point. I didn't get one off of this one, but it was a lot flatter. The next steep point I got a bite. And once you start doing that, there's going to be a long section of that lake that's going to fish very similar. Typically, lakes are kind of broken down in thirds. You've got the whole lower section, middle section, and then a river. If it's an impounded lake or a river, is going to pretty much all fish the same within 10 or so miles of each other. And it's just about finding those patterns and finding little places where you can go pull up and catch one fish. And 5 fish, 4 mats, so all you're looking for is 5 bites in a day. So the more high percentage areas that you can put your bait in a day, the better off you are. But that's during the tournament. You have to figure out where those high percentage areas are based on your practice.
yeah, you say it so confidently, but it took you a while to get there, like you said. And it's the hardest thing for, I think, any fisherman, especially in a tournament situation. That's where all of us struggle is. We feel like we got a pattern and we go out and do that pattern and we stick with it too long and we, live and die by it. And a lot of us die by it. And the way you say confidently like that, goes to show that that's the way you got to do it. And you have the confidence in doing that. And that's what that's what we keep telling ourselves and our listeners is to build that confidence, get that confidence in yourself to be able to make those decisions on the water. That's great stuff. Great stuff right there.
Yeah, and I bet if a lot of guys, if they went back and if they could know, like with us, we're able to watch after the tournament and see how the results shook out. And so we know if what we were feeling on the water at the time was the right thing, that we didn't pull the trigger on.
Yeah.
And most of the time you knew what you should have been doing, you just weren't doing it. And I guarantee you in those local tournaments, they would be the same way. If you knew what the other guys actually did to win the tournaments, probably what you felt like halfway through the day, you should have went and done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once you do that and it works successfully, once you break the chains of being locked into your practice,
yeah,
and it works successfully, what Michael was referencing there.
Yeah.
Now you're way more confident to do that in future days of just fishing, not just tournaments, but just fishing. I mean,
right.
You work all week, you get one day to fish. Sometimes you gotta cut loose and fish your gut, and it might not be what you think you should be doing.
So you keep referencing bladed jigs. Is that like your main gig? Is that your strength? You're a bladed jig fisherman, or I mean, if you had to pick a technique that your strength is?
I used to say it would have been fishing, TVA ledge style, May, June type tournaments. But now I would say it is. I think I've won more money in tournament fishing on a bladed jig than anything else even comes close to. And it's a bait that, I mean, like y'all said earlier, it's besides maybe at the dead coldest point of the wintertime, you can catch fish on it somewhere in any lake.
Yeah.
And just having the confidence and it's going to change. Spinner baits used to be that.
Yeah.
And crankbaits used to kind of be that. It'll change again. The fish will eventually get tired of seeing it too much and probably start shying away from it, and something else will come take its place. But it's all about just keeping that bait in your hand and staying with it. A lot of guys give up on it too quick. Some guys, they'll come up to me and say, man, I've never even caught one on it. And I said, well, how long did you throw it? Well, I threw it for 30 minutes. My buddy caught some, but you've got to lock it in your hand and just figure out the little tricks and how to throw it in certain places and keep it clean, when to throw it, when not to throw it, and so forth and so on.
What do you have a favorite one that you throw?
I'll throw a jackhammer more than anything. I mean, it's no secret. I think that's what 90% of us throw the majority of the time.
Yeah,
that would be what we like to call the unnamed bladed jig.
yeah,
Absolutely. It is.
Unnamed bladed jig scores another win.
Yeah.
Well, as we talked earlier, you've also learned to master the spinning rod, and you know, you've been associated with Big Bite Baits for a long time. They have a powerhouse pro staff, and you know, it's, you know, they're pro driven. I mean, you guys design the baits that they make. As a matter of fact, a lot of them are what I would call signature baits. And you know, from what I was told, talking to the Big Bite Baits people, you had a lot to do with some of the bait designs in the Sensation line. And the one that we talked about on the show last week, when we were introducing everyone to Sensation, was a bait that you're known for called the Skinny Stick. And I have one here. And it's about as finessey as you're going to get. And I was wondering, since we, you know, we gotta get the sponsor paid here. I was wondering if you could, you know, because you know, it's how it works in this world. I was wondering if you could break this little toothpick down for us, and I mean, you're known for it. You even back in the day before this bait existed, you fished real skinny finesse baits. How would you? What could you tell us about this?
You know, I wanted a bait that you could do anything with when it comes to finesse fishing, whether it's a shaky head, a drop shot, or a Nico rig, or any combination of all the above. And that's what the Skinny Stick really came into play. It's a 5-inch bait. It's thin enough to where you can do any of those techniques with it, but it's still got enough meat to it to where on a shaky head you can hide it. And that was the way I first initialized throwing this bait, was a shaky head. And then I noticed that when that tail was so slim on a drop shot with a heavy weight, it'll shake back and forth. And I can't explain why it does it. It just does. If you go with a quarter or heavier weight, you can drop it in the water and see it by the boat. The tail will start shimmy. And with a drop shot, that's, to me, 90% of your bites are going to come either as soon as you pick it up or as soon as you move it. In clear water, those fish are going to gravitate to it. They're going to see it and it moves. They're going to bite it. If not, they're not interested in it. Reel it in, throw another cast. And then with the Nico rig, that bait's not heavy enough to where you can throw out wacky rig without a weight. It's not intended for that. But if you're fishing clear water scenarios, again, where you want a little bit faster presentation to the bottom, but still that wacky rig technique, go with a Nico rig with a 3/32 ounce weight in that, or a 1/16 if you want a little bit slower, but 3/32 where I tend to hang around most of the time with it. But like I said, I just wanted to do all 5-inch worm that I could keep every color in my boat, whatever I need, smoke, black and purple, green pumpkin, purple copper, you know, bully's a good one, Vegas flash, tilapia. We've got a ton of different colors in it, whatever you like. For your watercolor and scenario, definitely give it a try.
When you rig for tournaments on your drop shot, what hook are you using?
The Gamakatsu 1/0, just a straight shank hook. You know, it was the Aaron's hook that everybody's always used, just a traditional short shank, regular drop shot hook. I will throw it occasionally if I feel like the fish are kind of shying away, but even if I'm throwing something smaller in the Sensation line, like the Smasher or the Somali, I'll still use that same hook. It's light wire worm with a 10 keeper, 1/0 where I stay most of the time, 2/0 on the Skinny Stick. But I'll just Texas rig it, and all you've got sticking out is just that little bit. I feel like with a longer shank hook, you've got a lot better hookup ratio and landing ratio. Same thing with a wacky rig. When it first came out, everybody was trying to throw this small, same style as a drop shot, and people got to losing too many fish on them. I was one of the included, and went to a longer shank, like the Finesse Stinger, and totally changed the way I fished it and the confidence I had. So with me, I'm sticking with that. I Texas rig that bait probably 90% of the time on that hook with a 1/4 to 3/8 ounce weight.
1/0.
Yeah, 2/0 on that one.
Oh, 2/0.
Everything else I throw a 1/0.
1/0. Okay, yeah.
Well, you did make you mentioned the Somali, and you did make a lot of money on the Somali, just as it was being introduced. And thank you, because you sold a lot of Somali for us. But you know, this Sensation is like the big bite entry into the scented baits war, and these are advanced scented baits. I had an opportunity 2 weeks ago to fish them a little bit up in the St. Lawrence River, but I'm afraid a lot of people are pigeonholing these as smallmouth baits, and I feel like this scent is, it's kind of like universal.
It is absolutely, and especially, we got the cliffhanger worm, which Clifford Perch design is kind of a hand pour style design. That one's one that can do it all. He's got another ramtail jig trailer that's going to be geared at all of them, and I think we're going to start doing some other shapes shortly that are more traditional largemouth shapes. The worst thing that can happen with a scent is that you smell it. I think it'll never be a disadvantage to you. I think the more realistic you can get, especially just to get over that next guy that just went down that bank and you got to go down it behind him, you've got something a little bit different, something the fish feels a little bit more natural, they're going to bite it. And that's the whole key with the sensation. It's a different blend, and it's very strong, and it lasts a long time. Like when I got done at ICAST, I went to Champlain, I think was the first tournament for the pro circuit. And I put a Somali on my deck at the beginning of the day of practice, and I left it laying there throughout the whole day. And when I came in, put the boat on the trailer, and I picked it back up and smelled it, and it smelled just like I got it out of the pack.
Wow.
So that was kind of a test, just being out there in the open air and seeing how long it would last. And it lasted a full day. And some of the other scents out there, they're not going to last that long. If it's especially a spray scent or something like that, it's going to come off pretty quick. But with that being in the plastic itself, it lasts a long time.
Well, they're quality baits. Big Bite obviously has been in the game for many, many, many years. But the colors, all their colors they're legit. They're colors that we grew up fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally like staple colors. In the last couple of years, some of the hottest colors made, tilapia flash, for example, that's a Big Bite original color.
Yeah.
Which you're now seeing in everyone's product line, which, imitation's the highest form of flattery, as they say. So, we're excited about the Sensation line of baits. We have a lot of work to do with them to learn them ourselves, but a little confidence on that skinny stick isn't going to hurt.
No, absolutely. I always ask this to the guys who are involved with bait companies because it's interesting to me and of course our listeners too. How much of a process and how involved are you when they say you're involved with making these baits and designing these baits? How much of this did you do, and what's the process? Is it a back and forth type of thing? This is what I want, see it, and then no, I just do this, change this, do this type of deal.
Yeah. So in the plastics world, molds are super expensive, talking several thousands, even up to 10,000 and beyond for a production mold where you can run a bunch of them at one time. So to get to that point, there's a lot of time in it. It typically starts, especially with our signature lines of baits, basically that we have, it starts with an idea in our head, and then we'll figure out how to either make, glue a bunch of different stuff together and shave it off or get whatever you want in that way, or draw it out on graph paper to spec. And then they can take that, turn it into a CAD drawing, and get a single shot mold of it. So it's relatively inexpensive, and they hand pour one at a time. We'll go through a prototype testing stage with it, see if it acts the way we want, if the tails are too long, too short, if it needs to be fatter, it needs to have some taken off, whatever. And then we'll go back, redo it again until we get to what we feel like is exactly the bait that we want. And then they'll get a production mold of it made, and then it'll be out on the shelf. So, I mean, it could take, like the Sensation stuff took about a year to complete and get a supply going. So it could take up to that long, sometimes up to 2 years. But it's just kind of a supply and demand deal. It could be as quick as a few months or up to a couple of years, but it goes from idea in your head, and then a little while later you see it out on the shelves, and it's a pretty cool deal.
Great.
Well, I mean, look in Big Bite alone. Look at like the Rojas Fighting Frog. the 4-inch Rojas Fighting Frog. I mean, if you had to pick one bait from their lineup, that's probably in their top 5 ever. And that process led to that. And now it's a staple amongst shallow water anglers everywhere. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and that bait's been around a while too, but
it has, and it's still hot.
Yeah. Drew Cook really put it back on the map last year. And then I think again this year at Santee, and that the exact color that you referenced, Tilapia Magic. And
that's why it's hot again.
Yeah, green pumpkin with purple and blue flake, and that's tilapia, and then the Magic's the gold flake added to it. But like you said, that was an original big bite color, and now it's in a lot of different shapes and great fish catching color.
Fantastic! I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see that enter in the sensation lineup in the not too distant future.
Yeah, right on.
This is just 100% speculation. I don't have any reason to think that, but I would think you're probably right.
Yeah. I know I'll have a bag or two.
So what boat are you running?
Phoenix. This is my first year in a Phoenix 921 Elite.
How you like it?
I really like it. It's kind of a balance between the speed. It's not going to be the fastest one out there, but certainly not the slowest. But the best riding boat I've ever been in, no doubt.
Well, we saw in a lot of your live footage in the last year, and a lot of images of you. You're in some offshore and some stuff. You gotta. You got to get there and you got to get back. And I mean, obviously, as much time as you spend in a boat,
that's why I asked, because I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell what kind of boat he had, because he was always half of the boat was underwater or under behind a wave every time all your pictures are like this, like you see the
but
nose.
It was dry.
But it was dry, yeah.
So I mean, we have had the opportunity to ride in a few of them.
They are amazing.
Yeah, they are. They are absolutely. I'm a skeeter guy through and through, but that's one rough water handling machine.
So I want to ask you. I want to ask you too, Michael. So you're fishing because I am so confused. I get so confused with Major League Fishing, because there's so many things and how to qualify for all the different things. So you're fishing the Major League.
This is going to be good. Where's my popcorn?
Pro Tour Invitation or
Tackle Warehouse Invitationals.
Tackle Warehouse Invitationals. Okay, and that is weighing your 5 fish in, right?
Yes.
Okay. So are you fishing any other part of the Major League Fishing family?
The Bass Pro Tour also, which is all you can catch.
Oh, the Bass Pro Tour.
Yeah. Yeah, I fished the Bass Pro Tour since 19, and then I fished the Pro Circuit or the Invitationals now the last 2 years in conjunction with.
So that's the one where you just catch all the fish you possibly can, and then has stages and like stage, with day 1, day 2. Okay, and
the 6-day tournaments.
Yeah, and then what else do they have? They have another.
Well, they have the cups, which are now team events.
Yeah, now the team series, which they started filming, I think, last week or something.
Oh, okay. All right. It's very confusing.
A lot of moving parts.
It's very, for me, man, I watch something on TV. I have no idea what I'm watching.
You need a flow chart.
I got to have the whiteboard. I got to get my, my things going. I mean, people know about this, because I get messed up with all this stuff. But
that's embarrassing.
It's terrible.
George, you got to draw something up for him.
I've got to get him a flow chart.
So is this the one? Are you fishing with Gray Buck?
That was the Pro Circuit. Yes.
That's the Pro Circuit. Okay.
Yeah.
All
the
right.
Invitationals now. Yes.
The Invitationals. Okay. Yeah. Because we like him. He's a good guy. He lives here close to us.
He's definitely a good guy.
Yeah. He's a nice guy.
Michael, I'll tell you what I'm interested in. This room that you're sitting in, I see all these trophies behind you. Is this a man cave, or is this where your boat's at? What's going on?
No, it's actually I've sold my boat, so I didn't want to go over there, and this is just the trophy case. So I felt like it was just be the best background to do it in. It's actually my house is kind of laid out weird. The living room and kitchen and a little office space is all one open area, so that's where it is. My wife originally wanted this piece to, put some pottery and China and stuff like that on, but it didn't work out that way. So, I think I'm kind of might be in trouble with that, but it's a good use for
It looks like you took it over a little
Looks
bit there,
good to
buddy.
me.
Yeah.
Looks good to me, man.
A lot of hardware on there, man.
Yeah.
That's well-deserved hardware. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
So what's the next big thing for Michael Neal? Just do a little deer hunting here, or I mean, you got some. You're like a little bit of a side farmer there, working with your dad or something like that. I read.
Yeah. We started cutting corn. He actually started when I was at Mille Lacs. Been doing a little bit of that. We'll swap over to soybeans here shortly and be running 2 combines. Probably be at that for a month or so, and by the time all that's over with, may get to deer hunt a little bit. I don't get real extravagant with it. Don't go on any long trips or anything. Just hunt right here around the house. And by that time, I'll be ready to start fishing. Probably go pre-practice a few lakes this winter. You never can have too much stuff to go try and look at, or go try and find one of those needle in a haystack places. So the off season seems like it's long every year, starting sometime in September and not going back till January or February, but it absolutely flies by. So
it does.
Be time to, and the way I organize my tackle, that takes me about 2 weeks to put it all back together, because it looks like a bomb went off in my truck and the boat room and everything. So that takes a while too, but I'm just very fortunate to do it and can't complain too much.
Well, not for nothing. You run a successful tackle business, and also interesting component to that, you have a restaurant with that. So I mean, we're in the tackle business. We know, your free time in that business is usually your cold months, your winter months, and that's when we get out and do a little traveling for a little fun breakaway for 4 or 5 days and go here and go there. So I imagine, with everything else you got going on, you're coming off of a busy tackle season, and you got the fall bite, which spurs things up again. And so your time is not exactly, you don't have a lot of it.
No, I'm not sitting in the house staring at the clock waiting on something to do by any means. And, we're fortunate enough down here where people can fish on soft water 365 days a year. So it never really slows up. A lot of guys will go into the woods and start deer hunting. A lot of them will go crappie fishing or something else too during the winter time, but still busy enough to where a lot of that stuff goes. And this time of year, a lot of the stuff, you got shows that you're buying tackle at and going and getting everything ready for the next year. So by the time you get all that done, it's time to get cranked up again for the new season.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
That pre-practice stuff, where what you're talking about, how important that is. Getting on these lakes and searching out some other stuff. That's such a big key for you guys. So really your off season can be pretty short because depends on how much you want to put into it.
Yeah, because we just get in the Bass Pro Tour, you get 2 days of practice. That's what it was in the pro circuit. The Invitational's changed to 3, but you don't have a lot of time. You got to have a real good idea of what you're going into it with. The more stuff, the more waypoints you can have preloaded from those rock piles, brush piles, one random little hard spot or high spot, the more of that stuff you can go into practice with and be able to, not just spend a lot of time idling and just spend time fishing, figuring out what pattern those fish are in, and then even going and finding more. You don't want to get pigeonholed into just one pattern in practice. You want to try and develop 2 or 3 different things. So it's really hard to do that if you don't have either some old history there or some pre-practice time built in. And, I think that's why a lot of the guys that you're seeing having a ton of success right now, they are going and doing those things. They're putting in their homework. They're putting in the time behind the steering wheel, not only the boat, but also the truck to go to all these places. I mean, you're looking at 10, 12-hour drives just to go spend 2 days, turn around, drive all the way back home. And it gets a little bit weary being away from home that long, but the competition is pretty stout, and you got to do everything you can to keep a leg up.
You got to want it.
You got to want it. Michael Neal, tell us where people can follow you and what they can, where they can go to see you and follow you throughout the year.
Either Facebook or Instagram. Facebook's just a page, Michael Neal, and Instagram's Michael.Neal with an underscore at the end. For whatever reason, everything else I thought would have been good was taken, so I had to be different.
Well, fantastic. We're gonna let you go. We appreciate your time.
That we do.
Appreciate the information. That's kind of stuff that we're looking for. We appreciate you giving us those tips. Hopefully, I know we're going to try them out. We're going to have some more confidence in some stuff, and I'm sure our listeners will. So thank you very much for taking your time to stop in Tackle Shop Live here. We've greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime.
Thank you so much, and we can see a little bit why they call you the real deal, Michael Neal.
Yes, right.
We'll catch up with you at another time, I am sure.
Absolutely. We'll be watching. Thank you so much,
All right.
Michael Neal, for stopping in. See you now, buddy.
Thank you.
There you have it.
Michael Neal right there.
Holy cow. Michael Neal, great freaking guy. Great information.
I can tell you this much. If you don't have your bladed jig game dialed in,
man,
you're going to want to, because every pro that we talk to, that we have on Tackle Shop Live, that we have interaction with in the last 6, 7, 8 years has become a bladed jig guru. You know, there's no reason in the world not to just dial that game in, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
That bladed jig is strong as ever.
And then also his finesse game. I mean, you know,
totally opposite.
It's the total opposite end of things. He had to develop that. He got it developed. He did it. He sees where both things go. And the other thing that I think that the big takeaway is, you know, when you're fishing and you think you got something figured out, and it doesn't really go that well, you could just go looking and practicing right in the middle of the day and have some success.
Yeah, well, there's a couple aspects of that finesse side of things. So, you know, for a guy like Michael Neal, he's fishing the Bass Pro Tour. So the Bass Pro Tour, they set a minimum weight for the fish based upon the fishery. Could be a pound, could be a pound and a half, could be 2 pounds, and then it's every fish you catch.
As long, in that.
Once you make that cut weight. So if it's a pound and a half, every 1 pound, 8 ounce fish you catch or a bigger is going to count.
Yeah.
And, you know, that may be a finesse situation. Mm-hmm. You know, you may be able to go down the bank with your chatter wagon and catch 3, 4, 5, 6 good fish, but you may be able to take your, you know, skinny stick on a drop shot and catch 30 1.5 pound fish.
Yeah.
So that's one component of the finesse game. The other component of the finesse game is from a traditional 5-fish limit tournament, such as the invitationals that they fish.
Yeah.
And in that situation, you may get, you know, out of your 3 days of fishing, you know, your 2 guaranteed and your final cut day, if you make it, you may get, you may have to rotate into a finesse mode at some point during the day, or, you know, you may be faced with a front or some other situation. And, you know, even as weekend fishermen, you know, we all have that happen. You know, we get that day off, you know, we get that opportunity to fish, and a big old front comes in and shuts the fish down. And, you know, we have to, you know, transition into that finesse mode. So, you know, being able to learn both the power and the finesse, you know,
very
the
important.
Yin and the yang.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
Really good information there. And
see you, Nick.
Yeah.
Nick's got to roll early tonight. He's got work to do. He has an actual job.
See you, Nick. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick, for stopping.
Cameraman Nick's out.
Yeah.
And so if anything happens with the camera,
we're left alone here.
That's never good.
Me and you by ourselves
in here.
What
we have to do? We have to get a beer.
Okay.
Before we go into our next segment.
Yeah, it's like it's like your parents leaving home, you know, for a weekend. Me and George are here alone. Party on, Garth. Wow, Steve Klauser. Thanks everybody for stopping in tonight, man. We got a lot more show to go. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot more show. We got tackle talk we want to go over. We got some tournament talk. We got some more tidbits we want we want to do. So don't go anywhere. We still got lots of show left. Nick's got to go work another job, but that's all right. Well, he's got to do that every now and then. But we are here for the duration. Everybody that's checking in, thank you so much. Don't forget to for all the newbies in here. Again, thank you for stopping by here on the show. Go to our Facebook page, go to our Instagram page, go to our TikTok page, go to our YouTube page, and like and share, and tell your friends about it. Tell your friends to get on there and check it out. This is what we do. We try to bring information to you guys that's helpful, hopefully helpful for your fishing. And we're here to help you catch more fish. And at the same time, George and I are sucking all this information up like sponges, and it's definitely going to help us catch more fish.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So before we transition, let's have a cheers here, Mike.
Yeah.
We have 2 beer sponsors to recognize.
Yes, we do.
We have some leftovers from Sam Montanello.
We're
going to have a fine Dutch product here with us tonight, the Heineken.
Sammy.
And also Matthew Weimer, who is a listener and viewer of the show in the shop quite often.
Yep.
And we really appreciate him sponsoring us with some of those good Trogs beers that we've been enjoying. So
it's all good. It's guys, thank you so much.
At any rate.
So let's move on, man. We got a lot of show to do. The next
we do.
Next thing we're going to do is our favorite section, which is called Tackle Talk.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, we don't have a whole lot of tackle talk, but we got some really cool stuff we want to go over. We're going to go into detail with it so you guys know what it is, how we feel about it, what we like about it, and what's coming down the pipeline for you guys. As always, this stuff's coming through the door every week, always some new stuff, and we like to really review it and check it out so we can see what it's all about.
By all means. I mean, and we don't want to overload it with a long segment, but we want to get into detail on a few items each week. They may be big, they may be small. We picked a couple baits out for this week, and they happen to be small. Right?
Yeah.
So we have.
Did you get a good color before you ripped the top off of that?
Of course, they're all good colors.
For where we want to fish?
We fish everywhere.
Yeah, well, whatever.
We have a new bait in the purple bag family.
Yep. Boy, Max scent. Wow. Is this stuff ever taken off? This is the real deal power bait thing. Everybody's fishing it. Everybody's catching fish on it. People are just going on and on and on about this product. So if you're not fishing it, you might want to try it out. And you might want to try it with this new little gem here, if George can get it out of the bag.
I mean, the way you go on and on about it, I'm surprised you don't have a Max scent tramp stamp.
Oh no! Well, I have it laying next to my bed, and I give it a good whiff every now and then. And
so, Max scent.
It's great stuff.
Obviously, we've broken it down for you before. It's a.
They want you to check for salt content in that, please.
It's a. I don't know if I can get this one up close to the camera or not. It's. I'm gonna have Mike bring us up close to the camera. So Max scent. Just to break it down real quick for you guys. Max scent is a plastic that has the gulp and the power bait scent. The big problem with the gulp scent was the baits would dry out. But they caught fish like crazy. So now we have the gulp and the power bait scent in one plastic. It does not dry out. And you'll notice on this bait Mike has here, he's showing you the flappers on the claws, for lack of a better term, the little rage claw appendages that you'll find on like a Strike King bait. And this is called the Little Super Trooper. So last year we had the Little Trooper, which was the crawl style, Ned style bait. Also a very, very good tiny jig trailer. Now we have the Super Trooper.
Isn't that a movie, Super Trooper?
It is.
It is.
Which has, the kickers on the claws.
Yeah.
So now, when this thing sinks in the water, you get that.
You do.
You get that kick as it's sinking down, whether it's on your Ned head or your little
Yeah.
Little bitty tiny finesse jig.
The little trooper is your pinchers, kind of like when it falls, you get a little movement, but it's really that profile, that real crawfish profile. This one's going to give you some kick, little extra action on the fall. And while you're swimming, you can even swim this little thing along. It's going to be dynamite. It's going to be dynamite.
The little super trooper, caught a lot of fish on a Ned head. Also caught a lot of fish on a little, what you might call a nano jig or a micro jig as a trailer.
Yep.
There's a lot of those on the market. You can go to Z-Man to their little Ned micro jig. You can go to Missile Baits.
Missile Baits got the little tiny micro.
They have the Ike's.
And you could swim that jig, George.
The little Ike's jig. They have a little football version of that.
You can swim that jig. The micro version. You can use them as a little micro swim jig. You can hop it along the bottom. You can pitch it around docks. It's just. This is the trailers and stuff you're going to use for that, and or fish it on
your Ned style.
The Ned style. So
right.
very, very, very effective. It's going to be very effective for you guys who are just Ned rig junkies. This is going to be a really good addition to your box. And I really like those kicktails. It's not just because it's new. I really like those kicktails. I like the movement of that tail. And George is
plus
right.
It's max scent.
And then it's max scent on top of that. So max scent, if you haven't fished it,
they eat it.
They eat it. They absolutely eat it. And if you have a tough bite out there, throw some max scent on, see what happens. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, you should be.
What else you got?
So also from the same company, Berkeley, the mega company that they are, we have their bladed jig. And if you'll take that up to the camera.
Yeah, we fished Sunday, but we didn't have them. We didn't have them to throw them, so we don't really know what it's going to do or how it's going to sound. Well, George tried to steal one at ICAST, but they wouldn't let him out of the door with it. So we couldn't even do that. So we're kind of new to it, and we're kind of excited about it for a couple of reasons George is going to get into here.
Well, I just want to break it down for you. It's called the Slobber Knocker. It's another bladed jig. I mean, let's face it. The king of all bladed jigs is the jackhammer. Z-Man, they rule the category. They have everything patented. The other companies are trying to work around those patents. I'm not really getting into all that. I'm just saying that we have them in stock. It's a bladed jig. We have not fished them yet. We cannot tell you much about them. A couple of interesting points that you need to know. One, that is a fusion hook, which is a sharp, strong son of a gun. I'm going to give them that. And two, that is a power bait scented skirt. And I'll tell you, the power bait, as we all know, is a legit.
I mean, it's really
a legit deal.
It's really strong.
So, slobber knockers are in stock.
Uh-oh.
They're hand tied. The colors are great. The skirts are hand tied, and I'm gonna say,
thought I had a camera malfunction there.
Looks like a wire. Looks like they're hand tied with a wire.
And they smell. I mean, they smell big time. Power bait
I think
scent.
it's a thread. I think it's a thread tie. And they also have a molded keeper on the hook shank. Looks like a tin. Looks like a molded tin keeper. What I like about this keeper is anytime you have that space between the keeper and the jig head, it's going to hold a variety of types of plastics really well. So it does have a great keeper. It has a great hook, a little bit of a wide gap hook.
What I'm kind of excited about that is the connection in the head here is it's like a roller pin going through the actual lead head that's kind of molded with a little eye on it. And there's a bunch of space in there, and they got it kind of carved out so that blade's going to clack side to side. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of sound we're going to get out of that, how much knocking, how much vibration, how that whole thing is going to go to get a different sound possibly out of it. So that's going to be something we're going to look for on this bait. Does have a little clip on the front nose, George, a little clip for tying onto your regular clip. Some guys will take that off, put a big split ring on there. I never had a problem with those failing.
I would never put a split ring on a chatterbait blade.
Yeah, some guys are doing that. I don't know why.
I mean, you get a good quality.
But that you can see that movement. It's a lot of movement side to side on that blade, and it really hits that head. And it's like a roller pin in there. So it's going to be unique to throw that and see what kind of sound we get out of it, different than the jackhammer or different than some of these other.
Well, we'll find out.
Baits that are out there. But that smell. I mean, it's strong. It's really strong, and it's that awesome power bait smell. And I mean, it's in that skirt big time. So that's a unique little deal there. Kind of excited about that, actually. It slobbers. Yeah, Robert Burtz, it does slobber. You can smell it. Bob Austin, you can smell it. That's a good one. John Wernick, yeah, that's a great color. Absolutely. I'm excited about it, totally excited about it. So that's going to be pretty cool.
There you have it, the slobber knocker.
Yeah. What do you got next, bro?
So one of the rod lines that's super popular is the X Pride from Shimano. They're also rare and hard to come by. We just got in some back-to-back shipments, one of them featuring the 8-foot extra heavy for you swim bait guys.
That's a hammer dog right there.
Well, yeah, if you're throwing a big swim bait. And then another thing we have coming in the next couple days is a large shipment of the 7-foot medium spin in the X Pride.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of you have been asking, looking about it, waiting for it. There's a lot of them coming in. So we'll have a big shipment of 7-foot medium spin X Prides back in the house here. I don't know if it's tomorrow or the next day, tomorrow or Monday, but they'll be here. They're on their way. They're on the truck. And the 8-foot extra heavies for you swim bait guys.
Beautiful.
The X Prides are filling back in again. So I know a lot of you have called and asked about that. So that's looking good. The other bait we have that we talked about a little bit in the past is the Evergreen ZR4 square bill. That is silent. Okay. Very buoyant. So I noticed this bait, fishes. It's very buoyant. It rises up. It bounces off of the cover really well. It backs itself out really well. So if you're a square bill fanatic and we are coming into heavy duty square bill season, you really need to take a minute and check out the Evergreen ZR4 new square bill released for the 23 season. Great hooks, great colors, very buoyant. Again, it's silent. It's a perfect size bait. It's going to be real well suited for your fall
key there.
Crankbait bite.
Yeah, the key there for me is the buoyancy. That ability to pop up like wood baits or balsa baits. This is going to give you, in a plastic bait, it's going to give you a nice pop off the stump as you bump into them. You can stop, it'll pop up over. You can go through that wood, go through that timber, go through that rock.
You can put this thing on a 15-pound fluoro and get about 4 to 5 foot out of it. So, you can pick apart some cover.
Coming up here in the fall.
You can throw this on some wood.
Yeah.
You can throw this on your riprap, your bridge piers, your docks.
Yep. Your little rocky points, transition points from grass when they move to the chunk rock and get on those little chunk rock banks. This is going to be perfect for that.
Just look for a little wind, look for some bait, and start throwing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited about that. That's a good looking bait.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And that's a cool looking color, but they have what? How many colors do we have? Six or seven of them?
There's probably 7-8 colors.
Yeah, there's a bunch of colors here in stock, ready to roll for you guys.
That's all I got for you guys this week on
That's it?
Tackle Talk.
Yeah,
I didn't want to go get all long-winded on that. We got a football game tonight.
Mike Cricksonis. His question is, in your opinion, what crankbait has the most left to right hunting action? In your opinion?
Well, I mean, if you're talking factory crankbaits, I will tell you this much. You don't have to spend a lot of money on a crankbait to get a good hunting action. I can tell you that because the KVD 1.5 will hunt. It does hunt and it will hunt. You know, and basically for those of you who are wondering what that term means, it simply means that your bait will have a random kick to it. So
yeah, be going along straight like this, and then you'll get that little side to side action this way.
You know, when you're reeling a bait in that runs perfectly tuned and comes in a straight line perfectly back to you, that could be a tight wobble or that could be a wide wobble, but it's always perfect. Okay, that bait does not hunt. When you reel a crankbait in and it's running, it appears to be running real well, and then it takes 2 or 3, left hooks and then comes back to where it was randomly over and over again, that is a bait that has a hunting action. And I can tell you from my personal experience, the KVD 1.5 absolutely hunts. The Megabass 1.2 square bill, I have not fished the 1.5, absolutely hunts.
That's a great crankbait.
And there's a few others, but I'm just telling you off the top of my head, you don't have to spend a ton of money to get a square bill that will hunt.
They seem to hold up for us. I'm not really busting a lot of those bills, Matthew, unless I chuck them off the motor.
Yeah, yeah.
We grind them up pretty good in the river and on that rock, and they hold up pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, I've had really good success with that particular square bill. There's actually a lot of, let's face it, without getting too off topic here, when it comes to square bill and shallow running crankbaits, and I'm not just gonna say there just has to be a square bill. When it comes to shallow running crankbaits, stuff that you fish from 0 to 6-7 foot of water, pick your brand. Okay, so I mean, if you're a Rapala guy, the DT series got you covered. The OG Slim series got you covered. Those are fish catching baits. I know the guys here at the shop, we have put them to work, and we have had fantastic catches with them. If you're a Spro guy, that Little John series of baits, particularly the original Little John 50.
50, man, that thing is bad to the bone.
Is money, straight up money. If you're a Strike King guy, I mean, we talk about the KVD 1.5 all the time, whether it's a standard 1.5 or the 1.5 hard knock. We love them. They catch fish. But pick your brand. I mean, pick your brand. They're all great. So,
yeah,
not all of them hunt, but they're all fish catchers. And that 1.5 absolutely hunts, and that 1.2 from Megabass absolutely hunts. And that should answer the hunting question.
All right. Well, there you go. There's tackle talk, and there's don't forget to check them out. Last week we talked about it. Everything's up on the website now. The spinner bait from Shimano. George and I got a chance to fish that finally.
I do have a pro tip on that spinner bait.
Yeah. So we want to talk about that a little bit, but that thing, lots of vibration.
It's called the Swagey Strong.
Yeah, the Swagey Strong by Shimano. We showed it to you guys last week.
We broke it down for you last week.
Yep. But we actually fished it on Sunday. So I understand what Swagey and Strong means now. The Swagey is the vibration. It gets a ton of vibration with that tapered wire.
Yeah.
And the blades pull super hard through the water. They're cupped hard. There's a massive amount of thump out of those blades for a willow leaf.
Well, it's a real tight vibration on the blade.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of pull.
It's a lot of pull. So you get a lot of vibration out of that blade wire combination. It runs true to the water. We talked about the balance point on that being on the bottom.
Runs great.
And it runs nice and straight and true through the water. The colors are great. And George actually got a bid on it.
A couple times.
And, You know, one thing you got to remember though, pro tip, George, you might want to break this down for us.
Yeah.
A massive pro tip that you guys better be listening.
Yeah.
This is very, very important.
Yeah. Well, you got to take that tubing off the hook. It's in the package so that people don't like run the hook through their hand in the store.
Rookie freaking maneuver, man.
Make sure you take the tubing
greatest.
off the hook before you start catching big fish on it. Well,
I mean, these giants were boiling on this spinner bait. He would be reeling it, and these things would come up and boil it and knock 2 foot of slack in his line. He'd go, oh my God, he set the hook and the thing would just roll over and come right off. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that fish come off. It was a giant. And then
do that. Take that plastic tubing off of there.
And then I think he even cast another couple times, and he finally looked at it, and he's like, holy hell, look at this. Got that tubing still left on the hook.
Not good.
So pro tip for George, rookie maneuver.
Not good.
Take it off. That's funny.
All right, Mike, I got one more little bit of information here before we wrap this thing up. And it has to do with the Hobie Bass Open Series on Lake Dardanelle, Arkansas. And the winner of that tournament was Jackson Rambanis.
Jackson Rambanis.
Who is Boom Boom's son. 15 years old, and he won the tournament. It was a 2-day tournament. At the end of the 2 days, he was in a tie, and the tiebreaker was the big fish, and he had a fish that was a half-inch bigger than the other gentleman. So he won $8,100 in the Hobie BOS, the Bass Open Series on Lake Dardanelle. And what's interesting about that is, you know, his dad is Freddie Boom Boom Rambanis. And, you know, we've actually met him numerous times going back to when he was still working his way, you know, from the West Coast before he was even married. And now he's got a 15-year-old son winning big league kayak tournaments. And that proves two things, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
The kid learned how to fish real well.
Yep.
And we're getting old. Those are my final thoughts on Tackle Shop Live tonight. Congratulations, Jackson Rambanis.
Well, we had our I think there's one more left, but our second to last tournament last week was the Conowingo Bass Opens. George and I couldn't make it, but
well, we could have.
They had a great turnout down there. They had a bunch of guys fishing. And the thing about this is the reason I'm bringing this up is the fishing was off the charts. It was really great fishing for the Conowingo pool, which, you know, your local guys will know. But, man, they had some great weights. And the winner for the third time in a row was Jason Basta and Ben McCubbin. They had a 513 kicker, and they ended up with 1888 for the win. And right behind him was Solo Herb Weichman with 1608 for 5 fish. Third place was Andrew Sams and Michael Duarte with 1512. Darren Dahl and Kenny Kleindex was fourth with 1501. So these are all great weights on here. It's unbelievable. And Brian Setlock, Dave Koback was fifth with 1480. And I think the last place money was David McCullough and Scott Johnson with 1373. And there was another 13, bunch of 12s, a couple of 10s. I mean, place was fishing legit this past weekend. The fall bite down there is on. The fall bite around the country is starting to come on. There's a lot of great fishing left in the year. I don't know about you guys.
Whoa. It's just getting started.
We fish until the lures bounce. And
sounds to me like we're going to need to go down to Chickamauga.
I'm telling you, Chickamauga, or just down that area, man. Can you imagine living there an hour to this, an hour to that?
Sounds to me like Michael Neal has a lot of room in that big open room of his.
I think so. The way it sounds.
I'll have to check that out.
We could throw a sleeping bag down.
And my last question for you, Mike.
Yeah.
Congratulations to everyone on the local river scene there. That was some very impressive fishing.
Good stuff.
And for Jason Basta and Ben McCubbin to win 3 in a row.
Awesome.
That's
hammer time.
You know, you can't win 3 in a row unless you win 2 in a row.
Nah,
so now they can win 4 in a row.
They could.
That's impressive. Very well done, gentlemen.
Yep.
But I have a question for you. What's our show about next week? Do you recall?
Yeah.
Because I don't recall.
Let's see. We talked about
We had something planned for next week.
Yeah.
I guess we don't recall.
I don't know. Somebody can probably come chatter on here and tell us
awesome.
what we said.
If somebody could tell us what our show should be on next week, that'd be great. We seem to have forgotten.
Yeah.
that.
Well, we got some people lined up and coming on. For you guys that were paying attention to the Toyota Series tournament up on Lake Ontario, our favorite Toyota Series angler, Spike Stoker.
What up with that?
He won that tournament, so we're working on getting him on here. That would be great. He's working out his schedule right now to see when he can pop on for a little bit. We
got a couple pros lined up. Spike Stoker. We have some other pros lined up.
I
think our show Caitlin put up there is on tweaks.
Tweaks. That's it.
That's right. So next week,
yep,
we're gonna go round table style with cameraman Nick, Mike, and myself. And we're going to share with you some of our very, very top secret tweaks that will no longer be top secret.
Yeah.
But some tweaks that we do.
Yeah.
And some things we recognize on the water which key us to make such a tweak.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be fun. That's going to be a good time. You guys can jump in there and ask questions.
That's going to get us started. That's going to get us started. We're going to have some fall.
There's some homework for you.
Some fall tips for you as well. But you know, we're gonna pose a situation that we have come across and a tweak that we've made to conquer it. So
yep, absolutely.
That's going to be next week's show.
Yeah, and then we're
and then the following 2 weeks after that, we're hoping to have Spike Stoker and another guest on in those following 2 weeks. So
yeah, information
of a 3-week schedule we're working on here.
We're trying to work a little bit instead of rushing things. We're trying to reach out there and get some better information, more hardcore stuff. David Schottlemeyer, Corbin, Corbin's busy. He's just a busy man. He's going to make guest appearances here and there whenever he can, and we welcome him whenever he can stop in. We love him. I know you guys love him. He will definitely be around again on and off throughout the year, throughout the season, throughout the fall. We got a lot of fishing we're going to do with him. So, we're going to see him a lot here these next several weeks. So, anyway, Chuck Reif, Daryl Esterly, Bob Austin, Dave Schottlemeyer, Robert Betts, Jason Bastel, everybody who's watched tonight. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Don't forget to like and share all of our social media.
Absolutely.
And until next time, we will see you on Tackle Shop Live.
We will.
I met you on a sunny day. Right there, you took my breath away. Young and pretty, was it just a dream? The next day you called me up, you told me I'm your little buttercup. You came over and you fell into my arms. Well, I know what I feel. Please tell me your love is real. You make me smile when I think of you. If I am down or when I am blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. All soaked in sweat, with chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you. A long blonde hair and your beautiful smile. Your sense of humor makes it all worthwhile. Don't make me wait.